I spend most of this year really kind of talking about artificial intelligence for our industry, whether it's for architects, engineers. Matter of fact, I was just at the Construction Management Association's conference in San Francisco yesterday. So I got back late last night after speaking with that folks. So this is going to be pretty engaging. And I think what we want to focus on for the most part, when we're thinking about AI, it's not necessarily about client deliverables, but it's about thinking about how you can incorporate it into your day-to-day to focus on administrative stuff. We all do admit, we all attend meetings, we all write emails, we all do those things, but how do we save time doing that? How do we get better at doing those things? So look at essentially the learning objectives for this. We're going to focus on AI policy and what that means. Thinking about what the legal aspects of what this is. Using AI to kind of break down kind of where we are from an industry perspective. Then we want to anticipate what's coming. What are all the great things that are coming down the road that are going to impact our industry? And then think about strategies on how we can start incorporating this into what we do every day. So from an agenda perspective, we're going to cover off on AI-related decisions. We're going to focus on anticipating the changes that are coming, AI policy, planning for AI, and then navigating any legal issues that we may have with this. So let's think about the current state of artificial intelligence. Let me tell you right off the bat, 95% of what you hear about artificial intelligence really doesn't exist. It's all hype. The only things that you really could be using right now are things like ChatGPT, or what we call generative AI. Copilot, Claude, ChatGPT, all of them are exactly the same. There is no magical tool that's out there today that's going to help you respond to a proposal. There is no magical tool that's going to increase your utilization rate or allow you to get better rates or pricing. They may be coming, but the reality is those don't exist today. So we have to get past the hype of what AI is and really kind of think about how it could impact us today. Thank you. There's a lot of hype. Hard to tell what is real and what is fantasy, right? The news does a terrible job with telling you it does all this great stuff. The reality is most people are like, okay, what? How? It doesn't do anything. The reality is that you could use ChatGPT to help write an email, respond to a proposal, do those things, and that's great. But beyond that, there's very little that's out there. There are some up-and-coming applications. There's a great image generation AI tool that's coming out that uses drone technology to take pictures of a runway or a bridge. And it uses AI to identify cracks and things that are wrong with the structure. Yeah, that's coming. No one's using it, but it's coming. So you can kind of see the value of it, but you have to get past the fantasy of what AI is and think about how you actually could use it. Almost all of us don't really know where to start with it. Matter of fact, I was in a room full of firm leaders recently, and 8 out of 10 of them were like, I understand the value of AI, I just don't know where to start, right? And then you start thinking about, okay, well, if I'm a 1,600 person firm, if I'm spending $20 per person for ChatGPT licenses, what's my ROI? I'm spending an additional $200,000 per year for software that I don't even know if there's going to be adding any value. So there's a lot of, I don't really know where to start. Almost everything with AI is about the art of the possible. It could possibly do this. It could possibly do that. Who wouldn't love to have an AI-powered robot dog that could go into a structure that is deemed unsafe and be able to do an inspection for you? That was freaking awesome. There are robots, dogs out there, but they don't have the technology yet to kind of get there. Will we get there? Probably, right? Tesla just announced their humanoid. It's like a person, right? And you see videos of it, right? It mimics human behavior. So they're putting up sheetrock and the robot watches you and then the robot mimics what you do and it can then start putting up sheetrock. Early infancy phases, it doesn't exist today. And honestly, if it did exist today, most of us couldn't afford it, right? Who's going to go out and spend $500,000, $600,000 on a robot when you can actually have human labor do the same exact thing? So keep that in mind. Very few real world use cases. No one can show you a use case on actually how AI is impacting you today. I aim to kind of change that because I do use use cases in what I do, but very few real world use cases. And then when you think about it, think about all the data that you collect, all of the reports, all of the survey data, all of the stuff that we collect. It is not in a way that AI can actually look at it today to make it useful. So I think of our industry, we're in 3 phases. There's the sales and marketing phase, is kind of where we are today. When I say sales and marketing, I think of basic content generation, the stuff that you post on social media, how you respond to proposals, how do you create your statement of qualifications. So anything that the sales people are using, the marketing people, that's where we are today. What is coming is back office. And it kind of touches a little bit on project delivery because they're going to kind of go hand in hand. But your accounting systems and your project management systems will eventually get AI into them. And when I say get AI into them, being able to identify trends within the data, to sit there and say, this project is going over budget, this project is over time, it's going to help you kind of get information about those things. Nothing in that exists today. Every single platform is thinking about it. If you're on a Dell Tech product, they launched Della, right? That's their AI venture into this. Uninet is incorporating an AI component into their project management tool. BTS, all of them are thinking about it, just not there yet. So when you think about the 3 phases, we're in 1, eventually going to move to 2, and then 3 is going to be those specialty applications. Those applications that are going to impact your project delivery, but they just don't exist today. So go back to the visual inspections, using AI and imagery to do that. That's where number 3 is. So we're in a phased approach. The news would have you to believe we're in phases 5 and 6 and 7. The reality is we're still at 1. I only started speaking on AI for our industry roughly 18 months ago. That's when it really started to take off. But the problem is that we're still in phase 1. So why are all the tools focused only on what we call generative AI or ChatGPT? See that big bubble in the middle? That's ChatGPT. 4.6 billion people use ChatGPT in any given month. All the specialty tools that impact our industry don't even have a bubble on this chart. Almost every single bubble on this chart is a generative AI tool or a version of a ChatGPT. That's why when we think about hype and what's impacting our industry and what we need to be concerned about, we don't know what's out there because there's no bubble for it. The bubble is so small, there's 1 application, 2 applications, very much in the infancy. So when you're thinking about how it's going to impact your firm, you need to be thinking about this. ChatGPT, Character.ai, Bard is no longer around, it's Google Gemini. They just changed its name. Microsoft Copilot is basically just ChatGPT. So you have to think about it. This is why we're only focused on phase 1 and not phase 2 or phase 3 yet. When I first started doing this in June of 23, there were only 12 AI tools that I was paying attention to. And I did my first presentation with PSMJ in March of that year. By June, that probably increased to about 30 applications. When I was finally at the PSMJ Thrive conference, there was literally thousands of applications. There used to be a guy that was tracking these new applications that were coming out, and he stopped. because there were so many that were coming out, you couldn't keep up with it. Literally, there's tens of thousands of these things. Most of them, no one's ever going to hear about. Most of them we're never going to use, but it's just expanding. And unfortunately, there's a lot of applications to where they say it's AI, and they put AI in the tool, but it's really not AI. So you got to keep that in mind. So what are our key challenges? So thinking about the construction side of the AEC side of this, right? Marketing and the news and the hype of what is existing is just creating confusion. Most people don't know what's available. A lot of it's not available. There is a complete and overestimation right now in exactly what AI can do to help your business. I train on this with the concept of just 12 minutes. I want you to find 12 minutes per day per employee using AI. Now, how do you do that? What does that mean? Well, if you can save 12 minutes per day using AI, you basically save 1 hour per week or 40 hours per year per person. Math becomes very simple. If you are a 1,000-person firm saving 12 minutes per day per employee, you are saving 1,000 hours per week, 4,000 hours per month. The essential, you've generally created 2 FTEs worth of hours per year in 1 month. Multiply that by against your average billable rate, and you can see the ROI. Now, how do we do that? Well, you can use generative AI, you can use ChatGPT to do that. I use AI for every meeting that I'm on. If I'm on 3 meetings per day using an AI note taker and save myself 5 minutes per meeting, I'm at 12 minutes per day. Do that across your organization, multiply that times your average billable rate, and you'll realize how you can get to the ROI very quickly. You don't need a specialized tool to generate revenue using AI today. You could use Teams, Copilot, Zoom, Otter, Firefly. They all capture meeting notes. 5 minutes per meeting, and I guarantee that we're all in more than 3 meetings per day. 5 minutes per meeting, 3 meetings per day, you're at your 12 minutes. So we overestimate the impacts of what AI can do, and we forget about the small things that can actually generate real money. So you think about that, right? If you think about you're generating almost 4,000 hours per month, that equates to 44,000 hours if you're a 1,000-person firm at the end of the year. If you just captured 10% of those 44,000 hours, 4,400 hours, multiplied it times your hourly, your average billable rate, it's real money. So don't worry about fancy tools. Use the tools that are available today, and that'll actually get you to generating an ROI on it. There's tons of questions around security, tons of questions around, is it accurate? Does it actually do what we need it to do? And that's a challenge. Most of our firms don't have an innovation leader. Most of our firms have an IT guy or two. The IT guy may know a little bit about your AI or the technology, but the problem with using your IT person when it comes to this, they've never written a client an email. They've never actually worked on a client deliverable. They've never interacted with your client. So how are they going to be able to understand how to use a tool to do a client deliverable? They may understand the technology. They may understand the security and the things that you need to do, but what they don't know is how to talk to a client because they've never talked to a client. So you can't use an IT person to implement your innovation strategy. You need to find someone that actually does a client deliverable. Partner with the IT guy on the technology, and that's how you're going to get there. If you're leaning into your tech support people, they don't understand client deliverables. They don't understand client emails. They don't understand the project delivery side of this. And that's going to be important. Need to understand the real world impacts to your business. We're all afraid that AI is going to take jobs. I've never spoken to a group of architects that didn't think that AI was going to steal all of their jobs. The reality is, if you take a step back, when AutoCAD came out, architects didn't go away. The people that made the drafting tables went away. You can even go back to the early 1900s. The blacksmiths didn't go away, they just became mechanics. So the car comes out, no one's using horses, blacksmiths became mechanics. When I was in college in the 1990s, we were afraid that the internet was going to steal everyone's job. What ended up happening? It created a whole economy of internet companies, Amazon and Google and all these other things. So it didn't take jobs, it actually created this whole new economy based on that. So don't be fearful of AI. It's not going to take anyone's job. It may change somebody's job, but you need to embrace it. And then we're not data ready. We don't understand where our data is. So let's talk about the benefits. The benefits of artificial intelligence. That first bullet is the only thing that you should be concerned with. If you could do 40 hours of work, you could get your employees to do 40 hours of work in 39 hours. You have another hour for them to work on other stuff. What is the biggest complaint that we give to our people, particularly people that are billable? They don't like the administrative side of the business. They don't want to work on their time cards. You know, how often are you sending emails out on Monday morning? Update your project plan, get the project plan up to date, get your timesheet submitted. You know, you go through all these administrative things. You probably spend 80 to 90% of your Mondays just getting people to do something so that you can actually start the day. But efficiency is probably the biggest thing that you're going to get out of artificial intelligence. How are you going to get to the efficiencies around the reduction of administrative tasks? You're not going to be able to pour concrete faster. You're not going to be able to get the building vertical faster. You're not going to be able to do all those things with AI now, but you can free up people's time when it comes to actually on the administrative side. None of our people are 100% billable. Or at least they may say that they are, but they're really not. The reduction of administrative tasks are what you're going to see from an efficiency standpoint today. You are going to increase utilization because if they have less administrative stuff to do, they should have more billable things to do. In theory, right? That's not going to stop people from playing, goofing off and doing their coffee breaks when they shouldn't be. But the reality is you should be able to increase utilization. Think about this for like, we're not talking about taking someone who is 60% utilized and making them 100% utilized. But how does it impact your revenue if someone that is 60% utilized that is now 65% utilized, or 67% utilized, or 70% utilized? So think about it from an incremental margin perspective. It doesn't need to have huge jumps, but small increases in utilization is going to see big impacts to revenue and project delivery. And then better decision making. I work with a large electrical contractor down in Jacksonville, Florida. I helped them work on an AI chatbot that allowed their on-site project managers to ask questions on their knowledge base. What screws do I use and what happens in this? What they were doing before was that PM would pick up the phone and call someone to go find that information. 12 minutes per day. If you're saving that person the time to not have to pick up a phone and find somebody and on their iPad go, I'm on this job and I'm looking for this material, this screw, this conduit, whatever it may be, and he can get that answer like that, and he doesn't have to talk to somebody, he saved 5 minutes per day. Was that you? Oh. Nobody pulled off their headphones right away, so I don't think it was us. But better decision making, sometimes when you think about AI, is just giving people access to information. You got to think about that. Your project managers probably spend most of their time answering and finding information about the project that's happening. Put it at their fingertips. So that all sounds great. Let's anticipate where this thing's going to go. My goal with this is to reduce the fear, kind of clear up some of the cloudiness of what's happening, and then kind of go from there. Said this earlier. If you're serious about figuring out what AI is going to do, find that innovation person within your firm that can partner with the technical side of the organization. And it has to be someone that actually deals with clients. They need to know what you do, how you deliver it, and then bring in your technology people to help solve the technology questions. Understand your data. If you're an organization that has a lot of data, knowledge bases, where does that exist today? How do people access that? Another big area that's going to impact us going forward is code compliance. How often are you on a job site and you need to kind of look up some code? Is there something that's happening, right? A lot of those tools are going to have AI built into it, then you can ask questions about it. Develop an AI policy. Probably the most important thing that you can do now is giving your people rules on what they can and cannot do when it comes to artificial intelligence. You're allowed to use AI for emails, you're not allowed to use AI for client deliverables. You're allowed to use AI to look something up, but you're not allowed to do this. So coming up with that policy is really important. More importantly, what you want them to do with your data. Do not put company data in a public AI. Now, the reason this is important, though, unlike a BIM tool, unlike AutoCAD, unlike Acrobat or Bluebeam, you have the ability to control the licensing on that. No one's going to go out and buy their own AutoCAD license. They're not going to go rogue when they do that. The problem with AI is, open up any web browser, turn on your phone, everyone in your organization has access to AI. You cannot control it. So to think that your people aren't using it or playing with it is foolish. You need to come up with rules. So that's why the policies is very important. Unlike every other tool that we use, every other software tool that we use, whether it's Revit, AutoCAD, whatever it is, we have up to this point been able to control the licensing on that. Who gets it, who doesn't get it. When it comes to AI, I just have to open up a web browser. I just have to open it and I can use it. You cannot prevent it. So you need to create a policy. And then more importantly, you need to start assessing the tools that you're using today. And this is where the innovation leader can really come in and help. Do you know what AutoCAD is, what's their AI roadmap? What features and tools that are coming out? When you think about your accounting platform, your ERP, what AI functionality and tools are coming out? How does that impact you? Every piece of software in your business, if you're a Microsoft shop, when you, on Monday morning, and everyone turns on their laptop, there was a little Copilot icon on the bottom. It just showed up. What are the rules around it? So you need to assess your tools and applications that you're using and understand. And your innovation leader should be doing this. They should catalog every piece of software that you use, and then at least figure out how those applications are going to utilize AI. Another question or another challenge that I have for you. Your innovation leader should also understand what your clients are using AI for. I was speaking at the AEC conference in Orlando, Florida earlier this year. And I had the pleasure of actually speaking right behind the GDOT commissioner. And he was talking about technology and the future of everything that GDOT's going to be doing over the next year. And so I got up there and I said, hey, listen, I said, for all the people that actually service and do work with GDOT, at some point in the near future, GDOT is going to use AI to score and select proposals for work that they do in all their districts. How are you prepared to handle that? How are you prepared if you do work with GDOT or SCDOT or Alabama DOT or California DOT or any transportation DOT, and they incorporate AI into their selection process? Is your firm prepared to manage that? How do they manage that? If they put rules around using AI to respond to a proposal, how are you prepared for that? So you have to not only be thinking internally, but you also have to be thinking externally about your clients on how they're going to be using AI. Innovation leader. It's good to create a little strike team. Have someone from across the organization, right? People that deliver projects, someone from the accounting team, someone from your marketing sales function, someone from your IT team. The leader of this is the project delivery people, because at the end of the day, we make money when we deliver on the projects that we do. The rest of those people are support people. But AI is going to impact them just as well. Use AI to write your job descriptions. What is one of the biggest challenges we have in this industry? Finding talent. What if you could get your HR or your recruiters to actually create social media content that was engaging, that would actually convince someone to come work at your organization? What if you just didn't have a generic job description, or your website talked more about what you do and the values and company culture, that you can actually use that as a recruiting tool? AI can help those folks. So when you think about AI, it's just not about the project delivery again. Get your HR and your recruiting teams to utilize AI to make your firm a recruiting powerhouse. Let's jump back into the policy part, because I think the policy part's really important. It's all about what you want them to do and not do. Keep it simple. You're allowed to do this. You're allowed to use this application. You're not allowed to do this. Don't use this application. It's very simple. If you're a Microsoft shop, your IT folks will say, hey, we would recommend you use Copilot because it's easier from a licensing perspective. We won't want to use ChatGPT. We want to use Jasper. So that's where you're going to want to go through, and you want to establish the do's and don'ts. It doesn't need to be a very robust policy. I'll give you an insider tip. Use AI to help you generate the policy. Very simple. PSMJ and MetalCon, they also have a report that came out where you can actually download and see other firms' AI policies. I recommend is go to the website and download it if you don't know where to start. Self-serving comment right now. Hire a consultant if you're unsure about all of it. I tend to do it for people. There's a bunch of other people in the industry that do it as well. But if you're unsure, just hire someone and say, hey, help me write this policy. You're more of an expert than I am. Don't forget to assess your tools, software, what everyone is doing. I touched on this. What are your customers doing? Oddly enough, and this is got an example of where this is going. If you self-publish a book through Amazon, there's a question when you're uploading your manuscript now that says, is there any part of this manuscript or graphics that were created with artificial intelligence? And it doesn't preclude or exclude whether or not your book gets published, but they're asking that question. What happens when your team goes to submit a proposal or response to a solicitation? Oh, that's them. Okay, great. And there's a checkbox that says, any part of this proposal generated with artificial intelligence. How do you handle that? Are you prepared to handle that? So you need to know what your customers are going to be doing with it. And as with anything, the policy should dictate training. Your folks will waste more time using AI if they're not trained properly, because they'll be goofing off and experimenting and they won't know how to do it. You need to kind of figure out training. You know, we have no problem spending tens of thousands of dollars to send people to a PM boot camp because we see the ROI and the value of having better product managers. AI is not going to do anything for your firm unless you actually have them training. So there's a bunch of good online training. There's obviously in-person training. There are trainers that'll do it, but you have to be thinking about training when you're going through this. This is a no-brainer. When we think about do's and don'ts with AI, it's almost going to mimic your cybersecurity policy. Do not click on things that you're not supposed to click on. Do not give it information that you're not supposed to give. It is plain simple. So when you're thinking about, oh, I got to create a whole policy around data retention, around AI, my recommendation is look at your cybersecurity policy on what you're doing with that. When you're training your folks about emails and stuff not to click on, same exact concept. Don't use personal identifiable information. Don't use any sensitive information. I do know some of us that are on the GovCon side that are doing government projects. It gets a little bit touchy. I wouldn't be using AI right now if you're doing a ton of GovCon. If you're doing a bunch of municipality state work, I will tell you right now, all that stuff ends up on the internet anyway. I was working with a client out of Portland, Oregon, and he was complaining about, I don't want my stuff out there, I don't want my stuff out there. And I said, I'm gonna show you something. I went to the Port of Vancouver website. He just submitted a solicitation. There was a form, and I submitted an FOI request. And not only did I get his solicitation, I got the 30 other solicitations that were submitted in PDF format. I said, you think your stuff is private? I said, it took me 4 minutes and I had 31 solicitations. You got to balance that though. Look at your business. What kind of work you do will kind of really dictate this policy. Again, if you're focused on the GovCon stuff, you're dealing with private client and there's a lot of sensitivities, I would tend to kind of be cautious. If you're on more public works type stuff, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be out there anyway. You can do things. If you're going to have people use ChatGPT, get your technical folks to focus on the settings. You can turn some of that stuff off where the information is not going out to the public. You can use Microsoft Copilot, which inherently is kind of built into it. But you need to kind of focus on the settings within that. Don't use the tool right out of the box. And then probably the second most important thing in all of this, if you are going to allow your folks to use any of the generative AI tools, anything that it produces, a human being has to look at it before it is used. The person creates it, someone else reviews it, and it goes out. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? No one sends out a proposal without having multiple people look at it, right? You have a team of people that will look at your solicitation. Same concept. If it's created, have someone look at it before it goes out. And it's important. And I say that it's important in a lot of ways because not that it creates false information, which we hear the news stories about that it does. I've never found that to be the case. What I do find is that it leaves information out. Would you be comfortable with submitting a solicitation that left out one or two important details? No. Get someone to review it before you move on to the next, before you resubmit it. So how do we get through this? All of this is great. The news scares the hell out of everyone, right? It's going to steal my job, it's going to do this, it's going to do all this other stuff. But let's focus on business value. Get that innovation team or leader in place. Could be one person, could be a group of people. And start small. Just start small. Do something as simple as... That's fun. So do something as simple as, we're going to use AI just for capturing meeting notes. Right? Most of us today will use Zoom or Teams, and then we always see that little icon that pops up. This meeting's being recorded. And most of us will say yes. Well, just have it, use the AI version of that. Teams has an AI version. Zoom has an AI version. If you don't have that, use Zoom or any of those, but start small. I just want everyone, when you're in a meeting, to use an AI note capture, and you'll be surprised at how easy it is to go from the meeting to action items to an email. Again, I said it early, 12 minutes per day. If I end my meeting, I look at the meeting transcript, the AI transcript. It's already summarized the key takeaways for me. I cut that out, I review it, I paste it into an email, I reply back to everyone, here are the action steps. How much time did I save myself? When you think about that, if we're in 3 meetings per day and it's 5 days a week, that means usually what we're doing is sometime on Thursday and on Friday, I'm trying to go back through everything that I did the week to send out emails and follow up with people. But if you could do it immediately right after that email, after that meeting, and get it out the door. So start small. And what you're gonna find is it's gonna generate value in the sense that use the metric of saving 1 hour per week per person and see how their utilization and their productivity increases, right? The AI policy is important too, because you don't want people using the AI to come up with ideas for their vacation or screw around figuring out, a recipe for something. Put rules around it. Say, hey, listen, this is a business tool, use it for business things. On your own time, use your own tool for whatever you want, but just demonstrate the value. I think the biggest concern that I hear about this in particular is I'm afraid to give everyone AI because when Facebook came out, people were just on Facebook when they should have been working. Will they be on AI screwing around like they were on Facebook? Yes, there were some people doing that, but for the most part, have your policy in place so that, essentially you can have a mitigation step if someone is actually doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. Real world use cases. Start with meeting notes. That's your project delivery, folks. Real world use cases. Get your HR and your recruiting departments to rewrite your job descriptions, to create social media content for recruiting purposes. Second real world use case. Third real world use case is get your marketing people to use it to create marketing content for social media. Use your marketing teams to reevaluate your website. Use your marketing teams to kind of rewrite your bio. And I'm going to show you a live example. I was actually presenting again yesterday on this. And all I asked AI was, do you know anything about Frank Lazaro? And it searched the web and it wrote my bio. I can get it now to rewrite my bio. What's the biggest challenge that we have when we're dealing with solicitations? Finding previous projects we worked on and then basically demonstrating the team that we're putting forward actually has the capabilities and skill sets to do that, which is usually some resume. We got to rewrite it. We got to do all this other stuff. Real world use case. Take your existing bio and rewrite it for the project that you're focused on. So right there, you have 3 or 4 simple things. Your project managers could use it for note-taking, HR could use it for recruiting, and marketing could use it for marketing content. You haven't even gotten into anything project delivery related. Focus on those 3 things, see if you save that hour per week per person, and then continue to see how it expands. Your innovation leader then thinks about what's coming, what's happening in the next 18, 24 months, 3 years. How does that impact our tools? And then you have a plan. So it's very simple. Don't worry about boiling the ocean. Don't worry about doing something super sophisticated. Don't worry about a specialty application. Note-taking, job descriptions, rewriting marketing content, resumes, cover letters. Oh, I love using it to rewrite cover letters. This industry is built on the concept of go-by. We do not create solicitations from scratch. We always go to a previous solicitation and we use that as a go-by. Rewrite a cover letter. Another example. You have someone that started off moving dirt in your organization. And 15 years later, they're now a project manager managing people. And the general contractor that I'm working with down in Jacksonville, the guy got up and did his use case was, he used plain coarse language trying to respond to an email. Client was asking, why is it late? And he said, got to the AI and it says, it was late because you're not giving me anything. and he used some more coarser language. And he goes through and he tells the AI this very coarse email, right? Just like, you're not doing your job and I'm not getting information and we're delayed and all sorts of stuff. And then he said, okay, AI, rewrite this into a professional friendly email. So it took all the curse words and all the coarse language and turned it in. Oh, I apologize that we're delayed because it's this, 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 and he just kind of outlined it. So think about that. Sometimes you just get really irritated and you just go to AI and just tell it exactly how you feel and then turn around and tell it, make this friendly. And I've done that too. It's just like, you know, you want to drop the F-bomb, you want to tell them they're dumb, you want to tell them all this stuff. Just do it in AI and then tell AI to clean it up for you. So I thought that was actually a funny use case. But you could take somebody who is not confident in writing something, responding to a client email or something along that, or doesn't know how to articulate something in a way, use simple language and then get AI to kind of rewrite it for you. I'll give you one more quick example on this. I had a previous employee come up to me. He was applying to graduate school. He says, can you write me a recommendation letter? And I was like, man, this is going to take me a while to do it. So I literally went to ChatGPT and I said, I'm writing a recommendation letter for Marcus. And I'm going to give you a series of words and attributes about Marcus that are both good and bad. And I want you to write me a letter. And I'm like, Marcus is very good at attention to detail. He is okay on his communication skills. He just needs to learn to communicate better. And it was just literally just a series of words and phrases. Within 2 minutes, it had me a fully drafted letter. And I'm like, this is amazing. It would have probably taken me 2 hours. It took me 10 minutes. So think about that kind of writing on how it could streamline your day. Policies, training, and then upskilling is probably the third most important thing on here. It's really good at educating you on something that you don't know. So if you have somebody in your firm that is wanting to learn about a different part of your firm, you can use it for that. And the most amazing thing is that you can take any technical documentation that you have, add it to it, and then say, ChatGPT, you are an interviewer, and I am trying to learn about this. Ask me questions, and it basically becomes a conversation. So the AI is going to use your training documents, and the people are just going to ask it questions, and it's going to go back and forth. So upskilling is a very important thing. Again, that could be use case number 4 for you. Low-hanging fruit, upskilling. Quickly, architecture firms, they're freaking out because they think the design part's going to go away. But the more important part for them, and this is the thing I emphasize, is the ability to update and complete construction documents when there are changes immediately. So if your firm is the firm that's on site moving dirt, you need the most updated construction document. You're waiting on the architecture firm. Everyone's waiting on something. It's going to speed it up. Getting those changes done faster. Engineering firms. Your biggest impact is going to be around your project management tools. And by the way, this presentation is going to be included in the app. You guys can download it and go back to it. But this right here is great. Now, if you're an environmental firm, if you're a firm that produces a lot of reports and data, AI is going to help you more than if you were just a survey firm. So just know that this in particular is going to impact you there. Construction firms. It's going to come down to, at the end of the day, making the people that are on site with projects, that are managing projects, getting them access to information that they need to actually keep the project on task, on time. Ultimately, though, being able to manage timesheets and time cards and getting information from the other players on a job site more readily, safety information, code compliance, all of that's going to be impacted here. And you're going to have access to it, right? Just imagine, I'm assuming most of your PMs on site have either an iPad or a laptop. Not having them going to be able to search information or call somebody and having it at their fingertips is good. If you own a lot of equipment, we all hear this concept of IoT and all this other stuff. Job site monitoring, right? We've all seen job site cameras, right? What do job site cameras do? Mostly time lapse to kind of show the owner, hey, here's the progress. And then you have a really cool marketing video at the end that shows how we moved dirt and went vertical, and it's really, really cool. We're going to get to the point with job site cameras to where they're going to be able to identify safety issues before they happen. We're going to get to the point that you're going to be able to use job site monitoring with AI to understand when people are on the site and when they leave the site so that you can make sure the time cards are accurate. Oh, it was raining, we didn't start working, or we started working later. Go to the camera and you find out it wasn't raining, right? They just didn't show up. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to impact the C part of the AEC. And then for all firms, and we've already touched on this, marketing, business development, HR, social media, thought leadership, collateral, presentations, your website, your salespeople, proposals, resumes, statement of qualifications, anything that's a presentation, your collateral pieces. By the way, did you know that you can actually take meeting notes, upload it into the Google AI tool, and it'll create a podcast with AI voices for you. So if you want to become a podcaster, just record all your meetings, and you can become a podcaster. Administrative tasks, writing emails, other content. Those are all the low-hanging fruits. That is step one. Go back to that earlier slide. This is one. We haven't even gotten to 2 or 3. This is one. 12 minutes per day. Operational efficiency. We all know that, right? We all know if I can find more hours, I can make more money. Our business is completely built on the concept of heads and hours. How many heads do I have and how many hours do I get out of those heads is directly related to how much revenue we can produce. AI can help you find hours. That mystical thing that we can't get to, like I can't become more utilized, and we know the excuses. As leaders, we know the excuses. Everyone has an excuse on why they were only 60% utilized and not 70% utilized. AI can help you with that. Said it earlier, where to start, create your policy, find that one person in your firm. If you can, find someone a little bit younger. Nothing against us old guys, right? I'm over 50, I get it, right? But find that up and coming leader in your firm, someone that is mid-career, late 30s, early 40s, that has the potential to be that firm leader. That's the person that you want to be your innovation leader. Because they're the ones that are they're gonna take the brunt of that new technology when they're 50, 55, when they're in that leadership position. Because in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, this is going to be commonplace. So find that leader. Don't forget to train your organization. It's one thing to say that you can give them the tool. It's another thing to kind of get them to use the tool. Think about best practices. You can start using it internally. Start small, meeting minutes, etc. You don't have to immediately go broad brush and do everything. Start small. Start marketing. Start HR. Those are really, really low-hanging fruit. Things that'll actually kind of show you the value of it. Be transparent, both internally and externally. Transparent internally. This is what you can and cannot do. Externally, don't shy away from telling your clients that you're using AI. In some ways, they're going to know, because if they're in a meeting and they go onto your Zoom call, they're going to see, hey, AI is recording this conversation. It's common practice. Some clients say no. Most people, we're all in those meetings, right? We just click past it for the most part. It is what it is. But just, be transparent about what you do. Your innovation leader needs to be thinking about both the privacy and the security concerns. Be realistic about those, though. If you're doing those public works projects, your stuff isn't private. Fill out a form or send an email. I can get everyone's solicitation. There's nothing private about it. By the way, your competitors could do exactly the same thing. And by the way, if your marketing folks aren't doing that for every solicitation that you do, you're not doing yourself any justice. That's a sales presentation for another day, but keep that in mind. Access, access, access. Where do you store all your information? I work for a 27, 28-year-old AE firm here in Atlanta. We had information in people's email, on their desktop, on a server, in SharePoint, and in Teams. It's all over the place. AI does not work very well when data is everywhere. So you have to think about where that data lives. So creating your policy around all client information, all proposal information, all of our information is always stored in SharePoint. You're going to be better off going forward. Get it off of people's desktops, get it out of people's information, emails, and get it into a central location, and AI is going to work much better for you going forward. There's tools out there. We know some of the good ones, Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT. They're out there. Have your innovation team evaluate what's the best one for you. When I say evaluate, it's not necessarily access to the tool, but you have to think about the cost of the tool. ChatGPT is $20 per person. If you're a 20-person firm, that's not an issue. If you are a 2,000-person firm, that's an issue, right? We have, as an industry, and in most industries, have been subscription to death. For the older people in the room, we remember we can just go to AutoCAD, pay the $2,000 for the license, and we paid no more for it. Now what do we do with AutoCAD? It's $79 a month, but then you got to pay $79 for Acrobat, and you got to pay $50 a month for Bluebeam, and you got to pay for the next thing you know, we have basically been cable television to death when it comes to software subscription, right? We are spending literally thousands of dollars per employee just to have access to Office 365 and Acrobat. And now they're asking us, hey, add another $20 for AI. So the evaluation part is not only does the tool do what we need it to do, but does it fit into what we do economically? You're a $1 billion company, you're not going to care as much. You're a $10 million company, you're going to care a hell of a lot. So you got to keep that in mind. Do an audit of all your software. How does AI change that pricing? What do I mean by that? Your current Microsoft license does not include AI. If you wanted to add Copilot, there's an additional fee. If you're a Google shop, your current Google license, the Google Docs and all this other stuff, does not include access to Gemini. That is an add-on. You have to do an audit of your software to figure out whether or not there's an additional fee or not by adding the AI component. What I do know, Adobe does not add an additional fee for adding the AI component. So if you're using Illustrator, your marketing folks, it's going to be included. Let's wrap this up with the legal stuff. I'm not an attorney, so you take this at face value. Congress did a report on what AI is. And essentially, they're treating AI just like any other software application. Microsoft Word cannot claim credit to the book that you write. AutoCAD cannot claim credit to the building that you design. Software cannot claim credit to some kind of creation. Only a human being can do that. So they're treating AI exactly the same way. You're using software to create something. The human owns the copyright, not the software. It's a little legal gray area because if I used AI to create a book, can I copyright the book? I don't know. This is going to be solved either through congressional action, more likely through a lawsuit, but the content creators aren't really happy about this. Like, you're using my book to write your book, like, why am I not getting credit? So legally, this is going to be fleshed out through either congressional law, some kind of executive action, or a lawsuit. Currently, right now, if you start with your own content, your own proposals, your own presentations, those things, you're less likely to run into an issue. That's exactly what I just said. There's legal challenges. There will be human involvement in this. These are the lawsuits. People are like, I created this, so you can't use it. I'm going to sue you. But just know, there are some gray areas. The easiest way to mitigate all of it is start with your own stuff to create new stuff, and you won't have any issues. Create something from whole cloth, randomly out of thin air, you're going to have to vet that content. If Congress can ever get their stuff together, they'll figure it out. Based on the last 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, Congress isn't going to do anything. All right, wrapping it up. Key takeaways. You cannot ignore this. Your people are already probably using it. You need to get ahead of it. Assume your employees are using it and figure out the best way going forward. Understand your data. Get everything into one central location. All of your proposals, all of your resumes, all of your content, everything in one system. SharePoint, Teams, doesn't matter. Get it somewhere, single location. If you're unsure, hire somebody. There's plenty of people that do this, myself included. We can help. Do not get a tool and not train your folks. If you're serious about doing this, also be serious about the training. Make sure you're putting training dollars around it. Here are the 8 steps to get started. Identify your leader, define your use cases, evaluate any risks internally and externally, understand how your customers are using it, develop your AI policy, have a process to adding new use cases. If you're starting with HR, what's the use case for marketing? What's the use case for the project managers? But have a process to do that. Have your innovation leader kind of focus on that. Understand where your data is, and then train, train, train. With that, we have like about a minute. Anyone have any questions, comments, thoughts? Oh, by the way, there is a QR code. Let's make sure you scan the QR code for the evaluations and the feedback. MetalCon is, they made sure I had to give that presentation. But make sure you scan the code. I also believe you could do it if you don't have the app. They are doing paper in the back over there. If you do have the app, it's in the app. If not, scan it and I'll actually take it to the evaluation.